Welcome into our first episode of Biz on the Balcony, guys. Thank you so much for all your support. The Brews on the Balcony podcast network continues to grow, and we are so excited to bring you this new podcast where we interview entrepreneurs and small business owners to get kind of a perspective on where they started their thought process and how they became what they have become with their products, with their businesses, and obviously the people that they've worked with to get to the level that they are. We always love to hear people's ideas and also hear that their ideas turn into businesses. Today, we are joined by Brian and Dan from I'm an Adult board game. It's a game that, if you have played Cards Against Humanity and the game of life, it's kind of like a combination of that, but times like 15. It's unbelievable. There's so much to it. They go through what the game's about, how they got the idea, and what they're trying to do with their business. An unbelievable conversation. Once again, it's Brian and Dan from I'm an Adult board game. You can find them on Facebook by searching I'm an Adult. There's a board game section on Facebook that you'll see their page, and obviously you can find them as well online. It's I'mAnAdultGame.com. Cannot thank them enough. And without further ado, here's Brian and Dan. All right, guys, today we got Brian and Dan from Ship Games LLC. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
So you had to make the trek out all the way from St. Charles. I mean, did you enjoy that drive?
Well, I came in from North County where I work, so that was about a 54-minute drive of lovely traffic.
TJ, you're making them drive all the way down here to the studio.
I mean, it is what it is. They are great guys. They wanted to come in here to the studio, and they're like, okay.
Well,
they kind of give me a weird look like, yeah, you couldn't come out to us, sick.
To be fair, my wife just texted us and said, you're going to go on this podcast on Friday.
Yeah,
that's pretty much why I showed up.
Yeah, she texted me or whatever, and we were talking about, because I had mentioned I wanted to have you guys on the podcast, and I was like, you guys got like your own handler now, like taking care of all the social media.
She just sort of took it over, so
it's crazy how one day you're just doing your own thing, and then the next day you have a manager.
It's crazy.
You guys are going like on a media tour now, just around St. Louis.
Well, when Nick mentioned handler, I'm like, is she going to come in with like an earpiece and like a bat and everything?
If
like,
she
you better
had
not
it,
mess
she
with
would.
me.
Well, we definitely can't mention that she's over there with the bat right now. So
all right, you got 35 minutes. You need them in and out. Go.
We've got the earpieces at home.
We really do.
Around the ear thing, they're pretty intense.
Probably use it. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for coming in. Super excited. And you're the first episode on Biz on the Balcony.
Biz on the Balcony.
Make you feel special? I mean, come on now.
Our first podcast and their first episode.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not our first podcast, though.
Well, for Biz on the Balcony.
Our first Biz on the Balcony.
We've done
That's fair.
Done a couple hundred podcasts before.
Not to brag or anything.
Yeah, we don't ever do that.
That's cool. I own my own car.
Yeah, right. We're super excited to have you guys in. Obviously, you guys have a big-time game that you guys have created called I'm an Adult board game. We'll get into where you kind of started out, like where the first idea of becoming a company to make games and kind of get into the entrepreneurial spirit. But as far as the game goes, I mean, how's it been for the first, I guess, soft launch?
It's not been too bad. We've received some good responses. We got a Kickstarter up right now. It runs through the 16th of January. We're about...
Last I looked, we're at 1,400 of our 8,000
Yeah,
goal.
nearly 1,500 in
Nice.
Of our 8,000 goal, which is fantastic, especially for week one on Kickstarter. Can't thank all the people enough for helping us out as much as they have.
Yeah, so it's so far so good. Just getting the word out and doing social media. Luckily, talking earlier about our handler, my wife, being so kind to hook us up on Facebook and do all that, because I am social media literate.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dan is pretty much too. So
I'm learning. It's a slow process.
It's a process, yeah. You got to hit all the Twitter, Facebook. I mean, you guys on TikTok?
Not
Who's
yet.
not on
Is
TikTok?
that the dancing thing?
Yeah, that's
I know.
We're gonna get Brian on there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's gifts to music?
Probably.
They're gonna do it though.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Again,
It's like basically like YouTube videos, except you can put any music you want without copyright. It's sort of the idea, right?
Yeah.
Kind of the Vine
essentially,
yeah.
built from Musical.ly and Vine together.
We're just gonna get you doing like a Chippendale thing to that.
Yeah, that's
done.
Yeah, sweet.
Done.
I mean that'll move some board games right there. Yeah. That will move some board games.
If that's what it takes, I will honor the tradition of Chris Farley doing his Chippendales dance.
You heard it here first.
If we could promise you 1 million views on that, would you do it?
100%.
100%. Okay. Well,
Wow,
there you go.
sweet.
I mean,
we could probably
let
get
the people do their magic out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could probably work.
Yeah.
I'll buy you the bow tie.
There's a lot of body hair involved. It's all even my head and just... and just going down. Do you want to talk about that?
No, that's a whole separate podcast. We'll bring you guys back for that and just see how that works out. But we're super excited. We got a chance to not actually just play the full game. We've had a chance to kind of go through it, have you guys explain it to us. It was just a super cool concept that you guys came up with. What was the original concept? Were you guys big fans of Cards Against Humanity and things like that, or how did it kind of come about?
Well, we've always been a board game fan. At least I have. I've always been a big board game fan. But the impetus for this sort of came when Brian came home one day. We were rooming together for a little while after college, and him and his wife were going through a couple of financial issues, and
she had gotten sick, so we had to go to the hospital. And at the time, she was on a Christian co-op health insurance plan, so it was all out-of-pocket cost. But at the end of it, you submit your need to the Christian co-op, and then they review it, and then they publish it to other people that will send you money. But when we got to the ER, after 4 hours, we were $5,000 in debt.
Oh wow!
And they wanted to admit her overnight, and we had a specialist came in to talk to us about the bill, rolled his card in. He's like, well, you're out of pocket. It's a 30% discount. And so right now you're at $5,000. I'm like, $5,000 for like some antibiotics.
Right.
And,
yeah.
Run just a little quick
Those hospital
blood
bills
test.
are not cheap.
Man.
boy.
So unfortunately, and luckily she turned out to be fine. She needed some antibiotics, and that cured the issue. But we had to take her home. We weren't able to admit her and get her the proper care. So at that point in life, I was pretty frustrated because I've got 2 college degrees. I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, which was go to college, work hard, did everything anybody's ever asked of me, and thought, at least on the other end of that I would have a comfortable, not even a comfortable life, but just a life where I could pay my bills.
Right.
Yeah.
And so coming back home to where Dan was.
He was so angry that day.
I walked in and
I can imagine.
I remember saying the words, there should be a game that just sucks. No matter what you do, it just knocks you down every step of the way.
And being close friends for very many years, I was trying to make him feel it. I was like, let's make one. Why not? And we just started riffing off each other because we have a comedic relationship.
Yeah, well, hours of working together in a scene shop for days on end, you start to entertain yourselves like anybody would. And
you guys just start drinking, just getting drunk, and just like laughing hysterically. I bet.
Yeah. Table saws.
That's what the best ideas come about, man.
But no, after I think it was 20, 25 minutes, we had
there was kind of a concept after
the concept of it, and then after about 45 minutes, you're like, maybe we should actually start writing this down because we've been making this joke for about 45 minutes now. And the next day, actually, we went into work and made the prototype on some styrofoam that we made.
Yeah, it was like poster board on that really thick, just loose styrofoam stuff.
Yeah,
super cheap.
The thick poster board.
Yeah,
you're talking about. Like a project, like a science project type thing.
Yeah, and as you cut it, little pieces just kind of fling off.
And the original board had like a life spinner embedded into it, and it was something magical, made out of all Sharpie marker and.
That's how all prototypes start.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Just a hodgepodge of whatever's laying around the house.
Yeah, and then we made up some cards for the game, and I think about a week later we had a working model.
Wow.
And we gave it a test play. That first test play lasted about 5.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And then we stopped because we were nowhere near finishing.
Hours, yeah.
And so then we from there, it just kind of became a project to kind of concentrate on and do something creative, and we've been refining it ever since. And that was late 2016.
Yes.
Wow. So this is a beyond 3 year process to get to where you're at right now.
Yeah,
I think that's one point. I think a lot of entrepreneurs when they're starting something out, they're like, maybe want immediate results and don't realize that like the patience and the time that it takes, like going into something like this.
I think if we had an unending supply of money and just no real job,
it'd be great, wouldn't it?
We would have had this game out 3 years ago.
Right.
Understandable.
But living in the real world with that $5,000 medical debt and car loans, and student loans and rent and all that stuff. It's been a long process since, and a lot's happened in that time with life, and that all of that has built in to shape different aspects of the game, whether it's the mechanics or the cards and things that happen to the other players. So it's now I think is the best time for this to have come out because we're at the best point in our lives to be able to do it.
Right.
Well, it's a great story too that you have gone through shit to put the game on. It's not like you guys sat down like, perfect life, and we got all this stuff, and then we're gonna make this game about how life is tough sometimes. But you're like, no, I had a tough time. This is bullshit. I'm pissed off today.
Yeah, this
Let's
is
make a game about it. Yeah.
And I think that's an experience a lot of people in their 20s right now, especially in their 30s, and probably people into their 40s have had throughout their life. And it's an experience all of our parents have had that went through. And it's a little different than like when my dad graduated college and he had a job pretty much the next day, and hasn't looked back since. And luckily he's got to have a great career with that. But when I graduated in December of 2012. Then I moved to LA in January of 2013 and spent 3 miserable months.
Not a fan of LA?
No, I apparently at that point, and as I'm sure a lot of people have found out, I was overqualified for jobs, which blows my mind that you can be overqualified for something.
Like, I feel like it's one of those like statements they put out there, like we don't want this guy. Well, it'll say he's overqualified.
You're too good.
Right,
well,
get him out the door type thing.
I need a cardiologist. This one's overqualified, so I'm going to go with this new one.
The one that's underqualified.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So
I'd say coming from the opposite side, to torpedo myself slightly, I come in and I'm good at creative solutions, but I don't look good on paper. As I've had like 3 or 4 jobs over the last couple of years, just trying to find what is good and what works for you.
Sure.
And that's not something that people talk about or tell you when you're going through college or getting out into the real world. Nobody tells you it's going to take a little while to find the one that's right.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. People freak out, I think, in college, no matter what it is, that you have to have everything figured out day one when you graduate. Yeah. And it's a bullshit type of thing that of something to put into somebody's mind, saying like, you better have all this shit figured out because you got all these bills, you got student loans coming up.
It's gonna happen right the fuck away.
Right. And like some people make decisions that are like quick, that they either get in a spot where they are somewhere they don't want to be, where they move for a job, or they're in a position that they sign a contract at and they're just screwed. You know what I mean? So that's the way it is.
That's what I think. Especially looking at this game and knowing some of the concept behind it. There's the option to not even go to college. Yeah. Kind of similar to life, but has, it says like kind of miserable the way through life, but it has like a comedic spin about that. Tell us about the game itself and some of those kind of unique features and from the comedy aspect of the game.
Well, the hope throughout all of it is to give you the feeling that at the end of it, while it was a tough ride, you did something, and you can laugh about it. Even if bad stuff happens to you, which bad stuff will happen to you.
Oh, it's going to happen.
We played for 5 minutes. We know the bad stuff happens to you quickly. Too.
Really fast. Yeah. Really, really fast. But the hope is to make you to laugh at it, and that's sort of the entire crux of the game, is you make it through life, and it's not like the board game life where you go on TV and you win $10,000 and congratulations, nothing bad will ever happen.
8 kids, you can afford everything, a mansion.
It's taking that shitty aspect that we all deal with and then magnifying it. So at the point when you step back after you're done playing the game and you've watched your friend who just got murdered by the mafia, you can kind of laugh and go like, oh well, like my life sucks, but at least
I didn't get murdered by the mafia. So
it's not.
Could be worse.
Tuesday can be better.
So when you first came up with the idea, who like kind of went with it? Because you guys said you were joking around for a while. Who then said, okay, like maybe this is kind of a thing and this is kind of funny?
I think that credit kind of goes to Dan, who said that it could be a real game. But I would like to think, between me, Dan, and then the other business partners, Devin and Dustin, we've worked together so closely over the last several years that we have a really tight working relationship. And so as we're kind of, whether we're riffing on jokes or if we're planning a project or building something or whether it's business related, we're always there with each other. So it's not like anybody's a step ahead of everybody else. It's always kind of been this conglomerate of a front that we're moving together. So as Dan was kind of coming up with things, I was right there to support it, or if I came up with something, he was right back there to back it up. And so then it built into a thing, and that's when we got to the point when we involved Dustin and Devin. But the actual mechanics of it is this genius's mind on how all that works. But you're talking about like games like Monopoly.
The first kind words he said to me.
He's never said anything nice to me.
Right. Well,
that's just how it goes, though. I mean, come on, you're in business together. It's just how it works.
Yeah.
Especially when you're friends too. It's just like you got to bust each other's balls every once in a while. Yeah. So what's your guys' end goal for this? I mean, obviously, we want to talk more about the journey, but as far as in the board game community, it's kind of a different business for a lot of people that don't understand how it works. So for anybody out there, with the digital age, I guess, and how everything's going to screens, how would you, I guess, back up that this is a big time business and can really take off if it's the right game?
Well, for me, it's always been analog entertainment is still a very thriving community. The board game community is huge, absolutely massive. There's a bar in St. Louis called Pieces, which is a bar that is just filled with board games. You go, you pay, you get your food, and they've got a library of like 200, 400 games that you can play. And this concept of sit down and play with your friends is still very much a real thing, and I think it's something that a lot of people are looking for, especially in the age range that we all are and the age range that we're aiming for.
And I think to that note, one of the other things that talking about financially where people are, you're looking for economic, repeatable fun. So board games fill that void where you can buy a game and you can play it over and over and over. In particular with like our game is meant to bring a table full of friends together and have that experience, and you can do that week to week. And once you buy the game once, you've got it.
Right.
I kind of hate those games where you buy into something and you're constantly like either getting a new app or getting expansions and doing all this other stuff. So one of the things, games have been around for a long time, and I think no matter what happens in the digital age, a hard game is always going to have a place at the table. So that social aspect of intermixing with other people is always important, in finding somewhere that you can do that, a catalyst to do that, whether it's a bar or going to an amusement park or something. You're wanting that shared experience, and analog games can give you that in real time.
Well, and there's, I think, that nostalgic feel too of still playing games even in a day when it's so much on your phone or like watching the screens and kind of takes away a little bit from when we were kids and playing board games. I mean, I know Settlers of Catan is a fun game a lot of people play, and I think much like with this game is this game's very unique because no matter how many times you play it, there's always going to be a different outcome. I think that's one of the things,
and that's part of the social aspect of the game. So a lot of the things, there's this underwritten currency in the game of favors. So depending on what job you have, you might have a benefit that you can offer to other players. So whether you might be a nurse or a doctor who can affect somebody's medical debt, or you might be a police officer and you can affect any run-ins with the law, or a number of different jobs that you have that available thing to the other players, and you can choose to be nice to each other.
Right.
Or you can choose to screw everybody over and just lift yourself up. And it's really interesting to watch the gameplays happen, because when you see these groups of people that all want to help each other, they all succeed. But if you do what I like to do, which is screw everybody over so that I
it's
can
more
win.
fun though.
Way more fun that way.
You watch these other people fail and struggle, and
while you're slowly rising higher and higher and higher.
But then you become the target of who else,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Which is actually the impetus. In the original gameplay, there wasn't any violent mechanic towards anybody else. But after the first playthrough of that game, the one that took 5 hours, there got incorporated the murder mechanic, because one of the players is like, I hate that guy and that guy. Can I kill them somehow? Can I make this better for me?
Like, write that down.
Well, no, we had a little sidebar right then and there. We're like, this is how it works.
So now, to be clear, now you can kill people in the game.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So then once you're dead, you're dead. You can't come back.
No, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
So it depends on how you die.
Okay.
If you're killed by another player, you have the opportunity to return at the age of 40 and start from your parents' house with a part-time job. But you've got to look at the facts and see how old is everybody else, how long is the game going to go, how long do you really want to be playing for. But it does give you the opportunity, if you get killed, you have a chance at redemption.
Interesting.
To get back in there.
So my question is, we talk about all the negative things that can happen to you in the game. Can you win the game? Is it winnable?
Yes,
it's very winnable.
How often does somebody win, though?
Somebody's going to win every game.
Okay.
But
the end goal of the game, the way that you win the game is by the end, when you retire, whoever has the most positive assets wins the game. So there's always a winner.
Okay. All right.
And you can win with negative money. Like, you could be $10,000 in debt,
but everybody else would
still become a winner.
In debt. Yeah. Wow. So technically, you win. Good job.
It's like being the least bad.
Yeah. Well, take for instance, we played the other week, and my wife won with $1,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
That was it.
See, it's like Monopoly. You get like tens of thousands, and then it's like if you're negative 10,000, no, you're still the winner.
Yeah, you still win.
Yeah.
Why not?
Now I like the end on the board especially. We'll put a picture in here to show it, but it shows at the end there's like 3 spots to get to the final stage.
Yeah,
and it's like one's like okay, then it's like death. And then the third one's like winner. It's like, I mean, how many people have landed on that second to last spot and just
I've hit that
game?
death space.
I actually did that on that last game.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Just get wiped. Have a great life all the way through.
I was super going to win. I was like $10,000 up. Everybody else was doing real bad. I had gone a weird path around the board that got me older than everybody else. I was like, I just don't have to roll a 4. And there it was, a 4.
Perfect 4.
And I died.
That just sums up the game right there. I mean, it really does. That's crazy.
Dan got a little ahead of the game. There's a milestone space where you age up, trying to get to that age of 62. And part of the game mechanic, some of the spaces or cards might send you backwards. And so he kept getting bounced around back and forth,
Slinkied
to that one spot. So he aged up pretty quick.
But the whole fun of that point of the game is that while the game itself just consistently beats you down, we did throw in those mechanics that give you the opportunity to feel like what you do matters.
Right.
For example, Brian and I. Will you hold my hand, Brian?
I will.
We got engaged in the game.
Wow.
Lovely.
Oh my God.
Well, we didn't just get engaged. We got married.
We got married.
You guys got
Whole
rings on,
9
no?
yards.
Yeah, I was
we
gonna say,
no, it's official.
You went all with it. Yeah, I was going to say.
But
Sorry, babe.
You got to tell your wife's that. I mean, I don't know. But, I mean,
Talk about a beard.
But no, there's the mechanics in the game, such as getting married or murdering other people, or you can write a will so that way you can either give everybody all of your bad stuff when you die, as sort of like a threat to everybody, like, don't kill me or you're just getting my debt.
Dan willed his estate to me even when we weren't married, and he was killed, and that put me ahead of the game, and then somebody killed me because they were mad I had something they didn't.
Oh, my God.
Exactly.
Now, what happens if you write a will to him, give all your debt there, but then you reemerge, and then you're free? You're scot-free?
He's free of it.
Oh, my
free.
God.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and so that's talking about the different layers of the game.
Yeah.
If you're having, like, if you're just like tens of thousands of dollars in debt, you can. He has no choice. I could will my estate to him, and then I could pay you to kill me. And I just start back over. So me as a player puts me way ahead. Now, granted, my original life is over, but who cares? It's that number in the end.
Oh, that's amazing.
Now that we talked about the mafia earlier, there is punishment in this game where if you are in debt to the mafia, if you don't want to die, you might have to kill somebody else off. But then that you might kill them and get away with it, or go to jail, right?
Oh, yes.
So, as Dustin puts it, murdering somebody in real life is really easy. It's getting away with it that's difficult. And so we kind of mirrored that in the game with utilizing the spinner to determine when you're going to kill somebody. So it's a 2-layer approach. The first spin determines if you kill them, and that's a 50-50 chance.
Evens odds. You kill them.
Right.
And then the other one, you've got to spin. Was it 7, 8, or 9?
It's an 8, 9, or 10.
8, 9, or 10
to be safe.
To get away with it.
To get away with it. Gotcha.
If not, you go to jail for like 5
turns.
5 turns, and you get a felony. If you get a felony conviction, there's some jobs you just can't have.
Yeah, explain the job cards. So there's certain ones that have, if you're a felon, you can't go for it. You're done.
Yeah.
So then do you have to die and come back then to get those jobs or have a chance at it?
Absolutely.
Wow. This is amazing.
And part of the fun of the game is all of the joy of it is in the humor. We tried to make the crappy parts of life funny.
Yes.
So all of the jobs come with, and there's a wide range of jobs. You can have a part-time job, entry-level job, or career job. You have to work your way through to get wherever you're going. But each one of them comes with their own benefits, or most of them do, and then all of them come with a little description, a little bit of humor, and then, of course, all the very important numbers that tells you how much money you lose.
Yeah, that's amazing. God. So explain, I guess, when you start out the game, for people that may want to know, like, who starts, how many players can there be, I guess, and then not to get too many questions, but going around the board, what are the main spots that you're looking for? I mean, are there more like bad spots and good spots, or just kind of draw a card and see what happens?
So to begin with, you can play with as many people as you want. We generally recommend 4 to 6, keeps it from being a 5.5 hour long game.
Makes sense.
Tends to be the easiest way to do that. But once everybody is in, you'll choose your education level, which lets you know what job you start at. You can either start working right out of high school, which gives you a part-time job, or you can go to college, get an entry-level job, but then you got to spin and get some debt because we don't like to let you have anything.
Well, you got to get that student debt. You want to get a decent job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. It's like the real world, man. I'm telling you, that's it. It's all about the real world.
Oh yeah.
And then as for the spaces, the main spaces in the game are little victories, which are nice little things that happen to you.
It's like your mom bought you lunch.
Yeah,
oh,
you
nice.
get like $20
so
or something.
you get to keep you get $5 from the bank because your mom bought you lunch,
which is nice.
I like that. Okay.
Then there's life happens, which are considerably more prevalent, which are the little bad things that you just can't avoid.
flat tire, stuff like that.
Flat tires, time to buy groceries, the electric bill is due. Those little things that just sort of chip away at you every day.
Sure.
But generally with a much more humorous reason why, and not so mundane as you bought groceries. Because we don't want to sell you that game. Then there's calamities, which are really bad. Which tend to ruin your entire game, or at least ruin your plan right now. Things like, Brian, help me out.
Well, for instance, you heard a noise in your attic, so you did the reasonable thing, and you called an old priest and a young priest, and after 8 hours, they discovered there's a raccoon in your attic. But your work caught wind of it, and because you took a sick day for a fake reason, you've lost your job.
That's tough, Pete.
It's hard.
You hate to see it.
Plus, you're out the $400 fee for the old priest and the young
my
priest.
God!
So,
when it rains, it pours. So how many calamities? I can't even
calamities.
Say calamities. Yes, thank you, Nick.
No, you're all good.
How many spots are on the board?
There's 3 of those throughout the board that they're kind of quartered throughout the board, so you have a little bit of breathing room between them. Life happens are probably the biggest spaces, and then the little victories are sort of sparse in there,
right?
To kind of reflect
ground.
real life.
Nice.
There's new job spaces where if you land on it, you have the opportunity to go up a level in your job.
Nice promotion, TJ.
That's nice. There's redemption around here too.
But the catch to that is you have to interview with the players at the table. So you need a majority of the players to say yes or no, and that's a great time for bargaining or bribes.
Extortion.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because another part of the game is depending on the job can help certain people, right? So if you're like a doctor. Somebody can help them.
So say you want to be a doctor, and I know something's going to happen to me because it's the game and it's going to suck. And I say, hey Nick, I'll give you a yes vote if you help me out on my next medical debt. And you might say yes, and I hope to God you'll hold true to that. But you have the right when it comes time. You'd be like, nah, I'm not going to do it.
Nice.
So
that's good.
So might put a target on your back.
I mean, it's obviously like another step from Monopoly, but Monopoly, when you make like, hey, I'll give you free passage if you give me Park Place or something. But it's like that times like 200, which is way funnier.
Yeah.
So
and it's constant.
It's constant stuff.
Game.
You got to negotiate. I mean, throughout the game, whether you're, you don't want to be on anybody's bad side, but at the same time, you might be getting fucked over by somebody that really pisses you off, and you want to kill them.
Does anybody want to be nice in the game? Like, is it just for real?
Yeah.
People play
it depends on the person.
Yeah, it's really all. You learn a lot about your friends.
Yeah. Right.
It's all based on the person. So, and especially you sort of garner the feeling of the game the more you go on. So if more of you are being nice, more people will tend to be nice, and your gameplay will go nice for that particular time.
But it's not as fun.
It depends on how you want to do it. It could also be the thing where you decide to pick on one of the other
stays
players.
lower.
Sure it does, right.
It's way more fun to be an asshole.
It really is. But that is how you get murdered, and that's part of the game.
Part of the game.
Like when we played the other night, my brother-in-law murdered me twice.
He
was just
son of a bitch.
He was about $40,000 in debt, and I wasn't. And he was just being petty. And he didn't care if he was going to go to jail or not, and he didn't care about that felony conviction, so he just went for it.
He was just going for it.
His game was done, so he's like, forget it, I'm going to go kill somebody.
He was so angry, he just wanted me to die, and I did.
That's sometimes how it goes, though.
It really is.
Now, tell us about the game box itself. It's not like an ordinary game box, and the pieces and stuff. I know you guys put a lot of thought into it.
So the box, like, if you walk down a game aisle right now, you're just inundated with just these big flashes of color and everything. And so to kind of try and stand out from that, everything from the ground up on this box has been purposely done. So even though it looks like just a base cardboard box, in the theme of being an adult and making your own game, that's why it looks like there's tape on it that you wrote the title of the game on, and you took a box that was for something else, and for this one I made it like an old router on the label that's underneath the tape. And so you're just repurposing that box for that thing.
We really wanted to keep that because that was the impetus of the game.
Sure.
Is somebody coming home and going, I'm tired of this. How do I make fun of it?
Yes.
Right.
And that's sort of what we wanted the entire thing to look like, is somebody who is just done. From the entire design of the box to the design of the board, which looks like a paper plate.
A dirty paper plate.
On top of just a stack of bills. And on one of them it's written like, I'm an adult, I don't need this shit. But that was the whole point, is to make it look like somebody was just fed up and came up with something, because that's what we did.
Don't you guys have spots in the corners too, like a pizza stain or something
well,
on
that's
it?
on the plate. There's a grease stain.
It bothers Brian to no
Oh,
end.
it's so gross. And it's in high res too.
It really is.
But there's grease
Yummy.
stain. The spinner is actually a coffee circle, like a
nice.
coffee mug that was down there.
Yeah.
But like the little mail stuff that like on the mail it says like past due and on the bills and things like that, or a dirty sponge.
Yeah, we may have taken it too far and gotten down to the point where all of the cards are printed on business card stock.
Yeah,
the right
That's
size,
awesome.
the right
yeah. When
stuff,
we started out, one of the original ideas was to build it completely out of like office supplies. And
that's what we had.
Yeah, and right. Dan made mention that not everybody might know what a manila folder is.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, well, that's a good point. What else can we do? And then luckily, Julie, who did Dustin's sister, who did a lot of the design on the board, came up with the idea. And she's like, what about a paper plate? And we loved it. And she did some quick concept art for us to look at. And it's been, I think it's been our winning concept so far that we really like. But
it's a great idea. I mean, it's something that people look at so detailed down to every detail is just like such a well thought out idea. It's just cool. And I think that will get people's attention too. Like you said, like the game concept itself is so cool, but the fact that you go through it looking like an Amazon box, little things like that, the pieces of tape, it is just so neat. Have you guys had good remarks on that too already, or have
we've
you
had some decent comments on that? People like the overall feel of the game, the look of the game, how it looks very handcrafted.
I think when people look at the box initially, they'll be like, "But what's the production box going to look like?"
They think that's like a 10 box.
Yeah, and granted, the production box will be just slightly a little cleaner than the prototypes.
Right.
It's still going to be the craft colored cardboard.
Right.
And
I love the rustic feel.
Yeah. So it's that one thing when you see it on the shelf, and hopefully someday we can get into a store. When you see it on the shelf at the store, and you're looking at just this myriad of different things, it'll catch your eye real quick.
It's just this brown rectangle
right there.
It's as adult of a box as we could make.
How's the gameplay been for the people that beta tested it? What's the response been from the people that have actually played the game?
I think so far everybody's loved it. Talking about that first play that we did being like 5.5 hours not finishing. We went through quite a bit of tests going through. They were trying to figure out how the milestone was going to work with the aging up. And it used to just be, I forget, what was the original?
It was 5 years, and then it was 7 years, and then it was 10 years every time you went around the board. And
what was the original term we were using instead of milestone? Do you remember?
I think it was just age up.
Age up, something like that. And then one day we were, again, sitting around riffing, and Dan said the word, those like milestones in life. I was like
that's it.
It hit me in the face. I was like, milestones. And so we tried to kind of pick those milestones in life. So, talking about working out of high school, you start at 18. If you go to college, you graduate a 4-year degree, hopefully at 22. And then you each go to 25 and then 40 and then it's 62.
Wow.
And we really took the time to kind of figure out how many times you're on the board left you with about a 90 minute to 2 hour gameplay. With an average of 4 to 6 players, so depending on how you went. So it's not like you're going to be there for 5.5 hours.
Sure.
Unless you're super petty and you just stay out and keep playing.
And just keep murdering people.
And just keep going.
Yeah.
Rack up the felonies.
The response on the actual gameplay has been great. People are always just laughing their asses off. And
I think the part that's shocked people the most is one of the things that we tout about the game is there aren't any game pieces for the game.
Right.
Just sort of keep with the handcrafted thing. You actually have to find your own.
Oh,
so what we intended for that, and what has been a consistent theme throughout, is whenever people decide to play or when we have beta tests go, you don't tell your friends that until they get there.
Nice.
And then they have to look through your house for some random, like,
you search your pocket.
Piece of popcorn or a penny or something.
So,
here's a napkin.
So instead of a board of people playing with like a thimble that nobody has, it's you playing with your buddy's broken pen.
Yeah, and we researched like game pieces and we could get meeple and stuff like that, but it's just everybody's got that and we wanted to be a little bit different. And it's fun to be like, hey, can somebody move the battery 4 spaces?
But only if you move the crystal back 2 spaces. Thank you.
And it's probably going to be a dead battery anyways.
Of course it's a dead battery.
Is this one charged? Nope.
No.
That doesn't work. That sucks. Yeah. It's I'm an Adult Board Game. Guys, where can they find you, especially online? I know you guys are syncing Ship Games LLC, but as far as social media, website, is there one for the game itself or for your entire company?
Yeah, so we have a website that you guys can go to. It'll take you to our Kickstarter page at the moment. Once the Kickstarter's finished, it will open up as a general just purchase link that's there. That is I'mAnAdultGame.com. And then we do have a link for all of our Kickstarter stuff, which if you go to our website at the moment, there's a button that will take you straight to where you can pledge.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And if you follow our Facebook page, keep an eye on it. There's going to be some special offers coming out and different things we're going to try and do to interact with people and maybe give away some stuff.
Oh, wow.
Cool. While we're doing this campaign.
So as far as the future, I guess when you've been talking to you guys, off camera, obviously, about the goals for the company. You guys are not done with just this board game. You've already had a couple concepts that have kind of come to fruition. So what are some other ideas you got?
Well, Crazy Brain over here created a game called Rolk. Which the closest thing to kind of mimic it would be something related to like chess.
Mm-hmm.
And I've played it once with a concept board he built a couple years ago, and I would like to point out I beat him at his own game.
He did.
Nice.
I was rather salty about it.
Yeah, and there's some other ones we're working on, like a tabletop card game. That again, it's going to involve that layer of comedy that's on the cards, but again, getting down to the bare bones of a game and fighting other players,
Right.
To succeed. And so.
A little bit more than what we have here. What we wanted to start with was a little bit more of that intermediate step between casual gamers and the hardcore gamers.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
The other two that we have, Rolk and then the card game, which is tentatively called Let's Make a Cult,
Nice.
are a little bit more on the mechanic-heavy side, taking casual gamers into the more serious gaming step.
Okay.
We
Right
want to
on.
be that middle ground, that stepping stone between I like to play Risk sometimes,
Yeah.
Right.
and I like to play like Settlers of Catan every Thursday.
Sure.
I don't think we'd ever be lying to ourselves and trying to compete with people that are making these campaign-heavy games that you play for 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not who we are, and we're not capable, I think, of.
A joke
of
can
making
only
those.
last so long.
True.
This relates to the average gamer, though, or somebody that isn't, normally playing board games, like you said, on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But also the experienced gamer, I think, would also obviously get into this.
There's with the layers to it. There's something for everybody. The more experienced gamer is definitely going to take advantage of all of those different mechanics that are in there. But the average gamer who might play Cards Against Humanity once in a while is going to be able to jump in, and it's going to look familiar to you. You're going to be able to pick it up right away and kind of go and play it.
That's awesome. Any other goals? I should say not goals. Some advice you guys have. Obviously, we're putting this podcast out. We're excited, but we're also trying to get people that may be already entrepreneurs or people that are kind of have an idea, but they're afraid to take it into the next step. I guess it's just an idea. What advice would you give people? We all have daytime jobs. We all have full-time stuff we do, but this
Side
is our
hustles.
right, and this is our side hustle. You guys have a great side hustle. What would you tell those people that are kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to do this?
Well, the obvious first cliche one is if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you. You got to take the step. But one of the things that I think has helped us a whole lot is finding a couple of people who are willing to see your vision the way that you want to see it and see exactly where you want to go with it. If you find the right people who can help you out and get that vision the next step, you don't have to do it all by yourself.
Yeah,
as Brian has so nicely said, I'm okay. I'm decent at making game mechanics, but when it comes to knowing taxes,
we got a guy
I don't know
for
shit.
that.
Right.
But no, it's and network and find those people and ask those questions. A lot of people are willing to help you out for free just to help you succeed.
Right.
And you can certainly return that favor if there's something you can offer them. But don't be afraid to ask, and just we've gotten here on the backs of a lot of people.
Sure.
And so
Gotta ask for help, like you said.
Yeah,
It's all part of it.
Can't do it all yourselves. What are some of the struggles you guys have faced being a new startup? I know people a lot of times always like to talk about the great things that are going on and the big goals that they have, but what are some things that you guys have noticed starting your own company that have been difficult?
It takes a lot of patience, which you don't really think about. When you come up with a cool idea, you see all the places that it can go immediately.
Right.
And it doesn't fly immediately. That's just not the way that it works. You have to work at it and push to make it happen. It took us, I think, a year and a half, 2 years to finally get art for the board, that it wasn't literally just a piece of cardboard that we were playing on.
Yeah. Money's a big one.
Yeah, money's
Oh,
important.
yeah.
Definitely. We understand that. For sure.
Everything that we've put into the game right now has come out of our own pockets. And while working our real jobs, that's not always easy for anybody, especially if you're starting out, and especially if you're younger. And you haven't found a decent job yet, and you're grinding every day, and you're trying to get this thing launched. But again, networking with those people that can help you, they can definitely help you out and save you some money along the way.
Definitely.
But yeah, money and time.
Money and time.
Money and time. Time is money.
But the one thing that we do recommend is no matter how many people help you, always make sure to give those people their due credit. because the people who have helped us along the way, people who have done our videos for us or helped make the website that we're having, it's completely pro bono for a lot of people, and you have to make sure to thank them and give them the due that they did for you, and make sure that people know what they've done.
And I think that's the one thing, too, about making something new and exciting is that a lot of people, some people you ask for help or you ask, can you get involved? Yeah. They'll say no, but then when you start seeing some success, I'd love to get involved. It's like, okay, where were you day one, bro? Like, you know what I mean? That's part of it, though. Some people try to ride the coattails, and it's like, you have an idea and what you want to do. And as Nick kind of mentioned, too, we all have these huge dreams, but you almost got to, sample it down for a second and say, okay, it's going to get there, but we got to take some time.
Got to bring it back to reality first before you get to the moon.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to start small.
Guys, appreciate you coming in. This has been awesome. Again, I'm sure you're excited to be the first episode of Biz on the Balcony.
Excited somebody wanted to talk to us.
Shit's going on my resume.
That's right. Brian and Dan, I'm an adult board game, and also Sinking Ship Games LLC. Guys, thanks again, and looking forward to your success.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Alice.